Yeah, why I'm running for school board, really motivated by three things. My commitment to servant leadership. Second is like a belief in the transformative power of education. And the third is this window of opportunity I think we have for Leander ISD to be a model district in Texas. And so in terms of servant leadership, I have about 23 years of program management experience in industries across tech, finance, and education, 12 of those being in education. I currently volunteer at my daughter's school. I'm in Watchdog program. I volunteer at the high school with Parents on Patrol, and I'm also part of the site-based committee. And so, service has just always been a part of my life, and so this is just an extension of serving. I think I have a skill set that can help serve 43,000 students. The second thing I mentioned was this transformative belief in the transformative power of education. I'm a first generation college student. I know from the perspective of a parent, from a former educator, a volunteer, that education is the real key to unlock young people's future. And so I believe in public education. I believe in having dedicated teachers, a robust academic excellence, and access to enriching activities. And I just know the power that can have on a young person's life. The others, I mentioned this opportunity that we have before us. Obviously, Leander is a growing, the Leander ISD and the geography is a growing geography. And we really do have an opportunity to set the stage of what academic excellence looks like. And so as we kind of enter into this new revolution of what education can be, I think we are at the forefront of shaping that for Texas. And so I'm just excited to be a part of that.
The school's education is very important to our students. And so I want to make sure that our students get the best education that they possibly can. And so if I can help with that, which I think I can, then I want to play a part. And I know, of course, that parents feel the same.
Yeah, as I mentioned, one, I have experience across various industries. I bring that perspective. I'm a parent. I'm invested in the district. I've done leadership and volunteerism at the local level. I have 12 years of experience in education. And so, I just think I bring I'm a value-based leader, forward-thinking, data-driven, and I think that can help serve the young people in the district.
Well, I've been a school board member before, so I served on the Leander ISD school board for a total of 18 years. The last time was about 10 years ago. But I decided that I shouldn't serve too long in one stretch, that it might shut out other people who would want to run because of the advantage of incumbency. And now I've forgotten the question. Would you repeat it, please?
Sure thing. What past experiences do you feel make you qualified to be a school board member? Yeah.
Yeah. Also, I have a lot of business experience. I've, in my time, worked for IBM, and I've also have a lot of experience in education. I've taught at the college level at the University of North Carolina and at the University of Texas and at St. Edward's in different times.
Sorry.
I guess that's all.
Yeah, I think with any district or any school district, any big system, that there are things that are going really well and things that can some improvements that can be made. What I really do love is this focus on the graduate profile. I think that is an opportunity to kind of give us a North Star of where we're heading and what do we want our young people to be. And what they're doing, what I love, and again, not completed yet, but they're scaffolding. What does that look like from, pre-K through 12th grade? And so I love the focus. I love the kind of the strategic planning around and centering it on young people and kids. The focus on whole child education. And so I love kind of the North Stars and the strategic kind of vision that Dr. Gearing has been able to put out. I think there's some opportunities to improve, obviously, some of our performance in student academic achievement. We have, almost 50% of young people that aren't proficient in reading and writing and math. And so I think that's something that we really do need to focus in on and ensure that young people are receiving the right supports and interventions to help them get to where they need to be. That said, we have a really diverse student population. And so while we have 50% that aren't doing, that are challenged or having some challenges in math and reading, we have 30% of students that are mastering the content. And so it's just important that we have kind of this differentiated instruction that really meets students where they are. And I think we do a good job of focusing on, and Dr. Gearing has done a good job of focusing on this idea of each and every student. And so trying to think about the unique student needs.
Well, I have only met Dr. Gearing once. So I don't have very much to say about him as a man. I do see that that learning seems to have trended down slightly, and that concerns me. I'm not saying that it can't be a blip, but still, I would like to see things working as effectively as they can. I'd like to see the best possible education. I have no reason to think that that Dr. Gearing cannot do that. I know that in the past, when the board has insisted on a focus on academics, which is my primary concern, that there's been an effective response based on my previous experience. Another thing that I'm concerned about is that people tell me that that parents are not being allowed in, they're kind of being shut out. And those, of course, are just people that I talk to. I don't have any firsthand evidence of what's going on, but that concerns me, and it's something that I would like to see change, and that I think could be changed if that's what the board wants to see happen.
Yeah, the biggest challenge facing students today. So thinking about it from the student perspective, I have 2 daughters at home, and so I have an elementary school student and a high school student, and so I have some perspective into that. I would say if I had to, pick the number one piece, I would just say, and we know, like the mental health challenge. There's just been, young people are facing like additional stress, additional anxiety, additional, challenges with depression. Some of that stems from just increased expectations. Some of that, is around social media and some of the social constructs that we have. And so I think for a young person, if I even think about my experience and like navigating that environment is really challenging for young people. And so, we're kind of in the middle of a mental health crisis for young people.
That's a good question. Obviously, it's very competitive. Probably more so all the time. So that means, again, we need to give students the best start that we possibly can. I guess there's also a need to help people to present themselves well so that they can get a good shot at taking part in our society and economy. I think there might also be a challenge that perhaps there's been a decline in in interest in academics and understanding the importance, probably with parents and maybe with students. So that's a challenge that that students face. But again, it's something I think can be overcome.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's more to do, right? And so that's going to be my answer. There's more to do. I think LISD has set up these, student support teams to provide access to therapy and counseling service to young people that maybe would not have access. I think that's a positive. I think focusing on SEL, certainly at the younger levels, and social emotional intelligence. And so helping young people to regulate, helping young people to be self-aware and create empathy and support each other. Helping young people to deal with the stresses that come with school. And so I think it's sufficient. I think there's more to do. I think we can do mental health screening for every student. I think that would be a really big opportunity, and increasing access to some of those community resources available to young people.
LISD is a good district, but I think we can do better. And at least let's try to do better. Let's strive to be the absolute best that we can be.
The ideal takeaway, I think that, is that one, the world, and there's like a tagline around preparing students for anything. And, I think that's an appropriate tagline. It's one, there's probably some dreams and hopes that young people have as they're graduating. And so we want them to feel prepared, want them to feel like that, the world is their oyster, right? But then knowing that like the world changes and careers may change, interests may change, but feel like they can, because they are part of this system, they can adapt, they can be flexible, and chase any dream they have, not only right out of school, but beyond. And so, I think focusing again on that graduate profile. Are you a collaborator, a really good communicator? Do you believe in teamwork? Can you have, respectful conversations with your peers that you may disagree with? Like, all of those things are really important, and I think we're cultivating that in young people.
Well, I guess I would say the graduate profile is pretty accurate or I agree with the graduate profile. Let me put it that way.
Yeah, so I do have two daughters. I have an elementary school student that started and we enrolled in the first grade. And then I have a high school student who's a sophomore at Leander High. She enrolled in the sixth grade here in Leander School District. We enrolled, it's been interesting, we enrolled during COVID. And so that was just an interesting experience. It's been, what I hear, and I talk to parents oftentimes throughout the district as well, is like, and one thing I would want to focus on is consistency. There can be families in the same school that are receiving different experiences. There can be families across town that are experiencing LISD differently. And so one thing that I bring to the board is that I want the experience to be consistent, for us to deliver consistent excellence. And so that's a focus of mine, because ours has not been as consistent along the way, but overall it's been a really great experience. The schools that we've been in, we've been able to articulate our students' needs, their interests, and they've been addressed. And that's what you really want, for it not to be maybe perfect out of the box, but when you raise your hand and you say, I expect better, I want better, that the school delivers.
Experiences were very positive. They both thrived in the LISD environment, and I'm very pleased with Leander ISD overall, as I've said before.
Yes. So long range planning. So one, we should know that like a part of this, like A part of being on the board is to make tough decisions. Part of being a leader is making tough decisions. That's probably one of the toughest decisions and topics that the board is facing right now. We're growing in the North and the Northwest. And so how do we set our resources up, our facilities, our budgets, our programs to be ahead of the curve on that growth? So I think there's an opportunity to be a little more proactive in that. Some of the, as you mentioned, the innovative academies. Part of it is as you build a new school, you can think about new programs, new choice programs, new select programs that maybe other students that are in less modernized schools may have access to. So I think one of the questions is how do we provide access? You can't have select programs maybe in every school, but how can we have some kind of open enrollment process so that students that are not in modern schools can have access to some of the newer kind of programs. I'm excited about the new academies and thinking about those innovative academies to allow students to specialize in certain fields. You think about maybe even fine arts, maybe STEM, maybe some opportunities in the medical field. And so we think about those pathways and the CTE programs we have. How do we expand on those and again increase access across the district?
This is controversial, but evidence shows that something that correlates very well with academic achievement, probably I think better than most anything that's been studied, is the size of the schools. So the smaller the schools, the better the students do. It's a bigger effect, if you look at the research, than the size of the classroom, that surprised me, but the evidence is there. I admit it's been a while since I've gone out and Googled that stuff, so there may be more things that I don't know about, and I know that smaller schools are expensive, but they're not near as expensive as smaller classes. So I think that's something that we should take a look at.
Yeah, again, another tough decision. A part of, when I've made decisions and what I like when you're bringing teams together, one is to be grounded on like what is really important and what are those considerations. I think one thing that makes our school district really unique is this idea of community neighborhood schools. And so that's just something we have to be really careful about as we may optimize schools or close schools, that we really want schools that are in walkable distance early in the elementary level. We want schools that are part of the neighborhood. And so we just have to really consider that as we think about, redistricting and changing the boundaries for schools. And so that's something that is top of mind for me. We were impacted by the recent high school boundary change. We ended up staying in LIS and Leander, but we were redistricted to Cedar Park. And so again, to get, I think communication and bringing parents into the conversation is really critical. I felt at times that it's been more reactionary and not proactive, and is more parents brought in to maybe react to plans that are already in place versus bringing parents in very early on in the process to understand what's important to them and what solutions they might come up with. But at the end of the day, it's a really tough decisions. And I think, at the end of the day, we do have to optimize school funds, optimize finance, while also kind of delivering on the needs of the community.
Sort of forgot that the district's not growing like a weed anymore. I'm still remembering 10 years ago. I guess I'd have to think about that. I'm not sure. It's possible that the best thing is to operate the schools under capacity. That makes them smaller schools. I haven't seen cost information on that. or really even know how to get it. So I'm throwing out an idea that I don't know that I can back up, but I think we do need to look at creative alternatives. So I'm feeling free to be open about things like that. I guess other than that, it mostly would it would depend on cost analysis. You know, how much does it cost to keep a larger school open? Do you have to heat and cool it all? I don't know. There are a lot of questions there that I'm not prepared to answer, but that I would certainly be willing to suggest that we investigate.
Yeah. So I'm a Texan. I was born in Dallas. I actually left the state to go to college. And then when it came back, I was brought in and remembered all the pride we have around being like Texans. We wear Texas hats. We were just like, there's a really prideful state. We're 44th in per pupil funding. Like, that's not something to be proud about. Like, we want to be number one or we want to be the best, and let's fund our public schools. There's, without a doubt, this should not be a partisan issue. As a community, every single member of the community should be fighting for funding public education. It is the bedrock of our society. It's what makes America different. It's what makes our communities different, is investing in public education and giving every young person a chance to fulfill the American dream, to chase their own dreams. And so we absolutely should all be advocating for fully funding public schools.
There's really only one thing to do to increase the state allocation, and that's to lobby the legislature, since they control it. Maybe work with parents to do the same, but that all flows from the legislature. Of course, I don't know where we are locally at the maximum tax rate, so that has a big difference. I know the state has typically in the past capped the tax rate, and so the combination of those could create a situation where the school district would have no remedy at all if funding was insufficient to do the job. So if we reach a situation where there's a combination of those, then that's a really big problem. Probably the state allocation should at least increase with inflation.
Yeah. So, one, we know that, there's certain components. We know for sure, if I take a big component, there's certain mandates around special education. I just actually had a conversation with the CFO last week. And those are underfunded. And so what's happening at the state level is we're getting mandates. So you must do this, you're required, but they're not funded. So for special education, for instance, and there's a number that ranges between, $20 to $30 million, to where if that was fully funded, we would have that money back in our system. That would take care of the deficit, and we actually would be operating at a surplus. And so just even that alone, right? And so really it comes down to like the mandates that are handed down at the state level are unfunded, including some of the security measures that are unfunded. And so, but I think we're doing, I think we're doing a really good job of operating in the environment that we're giving. And so at the end of the day, what it comes down to is doing a full audit of programs, what programs are effective, what programs are not effective, what mergers or consolidations might be possible. I think at the end of the day, what should be prioritized are the expenses that have a direct impact on student outcomes.
Obviously, the having a deficit like that means either that the board and the administration together decided to do it, or they did a poor job of estimating. I think that's probably a failure. On the other hand, the deficit is not that large compared to the fund balance. I forget what fraction it is, but it, might be a quarter or something. And anyway, the fund balance is still above what's recommended, and it's still in the range even higher than that we recommended during my time on the board. So it's not something to panic about, but obviously it needs to be addressed. And I don't have the information right now to say what the best way to address it is. Approximately 85% of a district's expenses are salaries. And that's an expense that's very difficult to control. I mean, if you don't pay people adequately, you're not going to get good teachers. And if you don't get good teachers, you're not going to get good results. So that needs to be maintained. I think we need to really, really try to scrub the budget, because the burden on taxpayers is significant. One way or another, we've got to solve that problem. It cannot continue. We cannot continue to have deficits of the size that we have now. So that's all I have to say on that.
Yeah, I mean, one thing I pride myself in throughout my career is building bridges, working with diverse, people from diverse backgrounds, working with people with diverse points of view. So I bring in kind of, a worldview around listening to people, engaging with people that may, think differently than I do. And so I want to be that voice that can bring people together. I will say that, let's keep it local. I think what's happened is some of the national conversation and topics at the national level is being kind of injected into our local conversations. And so we're having conversations that may not be as relevant to our local community. And so, I think there is this national effort to create divisiveness among, communities. And so I just think we just need to all kind of take a pause, take a step back, and just answer the question, what's best for our local community? What's best for our local students?
I have always worked very well with board members I disagreed with. And I have to say that in my time, the board did an excellent job of working together. I have heard from parents and others and seen things at board meetings that make me realize that's not so true. But I plan to do my part to make the working relationship as good as it can be. Maybe even to the extent of speaking privately with people who are disruptive. But I have no problem with people who disagree with me. That's how the system's supposed to work, and that's how we get the best results.
I know my answers are long-winded, and so I'll try to keep this one really short, which is I do not believe there's a problem. As close as I've kind of kept to this topic, I've not seen any real evidence, right? There's, out of the millions of votes cast, there may be one or two that you find that and most of the time it's not even intentional fraud. And so I actually believe we have a very strong election system. I think that we actually need to open it up more. What we should be concerned with is not everyone that is able to vote is voting. And again, nonpartisan issue, our country should be focused on how do we get as many people that are eligible to vote to vote. There are countries and states and that are using technology to do this. They're increasing mail-in ballots. They're increasing online voting. And I think you all as young people know, that is some of the most secure. I think online system is actually way more secure than me giving a paper ballot to someone and hoping that it gets to the state.
I do not. I am a former election system examiner for the Texas Attorney General's office. And so I have worked with the Attorney General and the Secretary of State to examine and certify many election systems and to refuse at least one election system that I can remember in the state of Texas. And I don't think there are security problems. At least I would be very surprised if there were in the election systems that we're using. Most of them that I'm familiar with throughout the state. There can, I guess, always be somebody, in the polls marking ballots or something like that. But that's also very difficult to do because of the records they keep that keep track of who's voted and the number of ballots used and things like that. So my answer is I don't think we have any serious election fraud in Travis or Williamson County, and probably not anywhere in Texas.
Absolutely. So it was interesting as I was engaging. I have a prayer group on Tuesdays, and as I was contemplating running, I shared it with my prayer group, and one of the gentlemen, he said, "Are you prepared to lose?" And I was like, "Whoa, I want to win," but he's like, "You have to prepare to lose." And so, very early on, I accepted that reality that I might lose, and what that's helped me do is to really enjoy this journey. And so I'm talking to folks, I'm having a good time, I'm learning a lot myself. And so in a way, I've already won, if that makes sense.
I see. And we'll close with this one.
Absolutely.
Oh, my favorite high school memory. I enjoyed high school. I had some educators that really invested in me. I would say my greatest high school memory, though, that comes to mind, is getting my car. Getting my car and riding around the city. And as I can imagine, we would find anything to do just to jump in my car and ride around so that's a memory of mine. I played sports. I played football as well. And so that sticks out. But just meeting, connecting. I was a social butterfly in that sense. And so just the memories, the relationships and the people that I was able to kind of engage with and meet with.
I really enjoyed working on the yearbook in high school. That was something that gave me a lot of pleasure. It was fun working with people and writing and taking photographs and all that kind of stuff. Of course, it was a little bit different then. We had to go in the darkroom and develop the photographs and print them and all that kind of stuff. But still, that was a very rewarding and enjoyable experience.
That's a great question. We didn't talk about, if I had to think about a topic that we didn't talk about. So one, thank you all for some really engaging topics and important topics. I would say our teachers. And so like they are the heartbeat of our district. We know that the districts across the state, across the country are having some challenges with recruiting and retaining educators. It's a profession that is under attack in a sense. And so I just say like I want LISD to be a place of choice for employer of choice for our teachers, and to address some of the burnout issues, the pay disparities, teachers feeling demonized. I want them to feel like LISD is a place where they feel supported and valued and respected. And so I think there's some opportunities and would be a priority of mine to really bring people together to help support teachers in our district and help to lift up that profession.